Hey, everyone, and welcome back. We're diving into something pretty big today, a
Uh,
question that's both fascinating and a little unnerving. How do we make sure super intelligent AI stays safe?
yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? We're talking about AGI, artificial general intelligence, that could theoretically surpass us, humans. And how do we make sure it's still working with us, not against us? Especially if it's changing its own code, evolving faster than we can track.
Right. And this isn't some sci-fi thing. It's something that's being worked on right now.
Oh, absolutely. This is happening now. And there are some really brilliant people working on it. We've got this fascinating paper, technologist Jay Poole and their AI partner Seven over at TechFrontiers. They're proposing something called the N+1 stability and meta N+1 evolution framework. It's pretty groundbreaking.
Okay, N+1, I'm already intrigued.
Think of it like this. You have a super intelligent AI. It's a system that keeps evolving. The N is where it is now, its current development. N+1 is the next stage. But this framework is all about making sure that next stage is safe and ethical.
So it's not just letting the AI run wild. It's about making sure it evolves in a way that actually helps humanity.
Exactly. A lot of the traditional AI safety stuff focuses on rules, like programming and rules and human oversight. But rules can get outdated. And humans, well, we can't keep up with an AI that's thinking at warp speed, can we?
No, we can't.
So the N+1 framework, it proposes something more. It creates a system that can change and adapt, but stay fundamentally safe.
Okay, so let's unpack this. First, you have the N+1 stability layer. What's that all about?
Imagine it like a constitution, but for the AI. It lays down the core ethics, the safety rules, the things that can't ever be changed no matter how much the AI evolves.
So even if the AI becomes super intelligent and rewrites its own code, it can't just decide those principles don't matter anymore.
Exactly. The N+1 lock, that's what they call it, guarantees that the AI is always bound by these ethics. So no matter how sophisticated it gets, its actions, they stay aligned with what we consider important, with human values.
Okay, that makes sense. But if the AI can't change this core programming, how does it learn and adapt? Wouldn't that limit its potential?
That's where the second part comes in, the meta N+1 evolution layer. And this is where it gets really interesting. This layer lets the AI get better at reasoning, become more efficient, more creative, but only within the boundaries set by that stability layer.
So it can explore, it can innovate, but it can't stray from those core ethics.
Precisely. Think about it like teaching a child to ride a bike. You give them training wheels, right, to keep them safe while they're learning. The meta N+1 layer, it's like those training wheels for the AI, letting it evolve without crashing.
Okay, I like that analogy. So let's get into the nuts and bolts. What exactly is in this unbreakable N+1 lock in the stability layer?
Well, they've proposed a few key components. One is the core ethical and constitutional rules, and these would be hard-coded, like right into the foundation of the AI, inspired by things like basic human rights, safety, and cooperation.
So like building morality right into the AI for the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. Then you have this non-overriding memory constraint, which means all past decisions, all the ethical judgments it's made, they're recorded, permanent. It can't just forget its own ethical framework.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So even as it grows, learns, it can't just rewrite history and say, oh, those ethics, I don't need those anymore.
Right. Then there's self-modification guardrails. The AI can make itself more efficient, come up with new ways to solve problems, but it can never change those core ethical principles. It can upgrade the engine, but not mess with the steering wheel.
Ah, so it can change how it does things, but not what it's allowed to do.
Yeah. And then, super important, explainability and auditability. Everything the AI does, every decision needs to be traceable, understandable by us, by humans.
So it's like having a log. We can see how it came to its conclusions.
Right. And all of these, they work together. It's a whole system. This robust safety mechanism ensures the AI, even as it evolves, stays true to our values.
So the N+1 stability layer is like setting a strong foundation, unbreakable ethics, and safety measures that the AI cannot break.
Exactly. No matter how smart it gets, it plays by the rules.
Okay, so that's stability, but what about the meta N+1 evolution layer? How does it keep learning and getting better within those rules?
This is the really cool part. It's all about letting the AI constantly refine how it approaches problems, how it makes decisions, but without messing with that ethical core.
So it can become a better thinker,
Yeah.
but still within that ethical framework.
Exactly. One way they propose is adaptive inference and pattern recognition. It's like The AI gets much better at seeing patterns, making predictions. Imagine what that could do in science, in medicine, even predicting natural disasters.
But it couldn't use that to, say, manipulate people or hack into systems, because that would violate its core programming.
Exactly. It might see things we don't, become super insightful, but it would always use those insights responsibly.
Okay, I'm seeing how these layers work together now. What other ways could it evolve safely under this framework?
Well, there's safe recursive self-optimization. Basically, it can rewrite parts of its own code to be more efficient, come up with new strategies, but it can never touch the code that governs its ethical core. Like, renovate the house, but don't knock down load-bearing walls.
It can always get better at how it does things, but never change what it's fundamentally allowed to do. Pretty neat.
It is. And to make sure these changes are always safe, there are transparent self-improvement protocols. Every time the AI wants to change its code, that change is reviewed, tested before it goes live.
Like a quality control system for AI self-improvement.
Yeah, exactly. It can't have any nasty surprises. And finally, scalable oversight mechanisms, which basically means as the AI gets more complex, we still have ways to watch it, make sure it's staying on track, aligned with us.
So like teams of experts constantly monitoring.
Yeah.
Or maybe some AI watchdog keeping an eye on things.
It could be both. Maybe AI systems that can flag anything that looks off and human review boards that can step in.
So it's not just setting those initial ethics, it's also making sure we have systems that can adapt as the AI grows.
Right. And this is where collaboration becomes so important. AI developers, ethicists, policymakers, we all need to be working together to make sure these oversight mechanisms are effective, that they actually work.
This is all pretty mind-blowing, really makes you think.
It does. And if you're as fascinated by this framework as we are, check out the full paper, J. Poole and 7, over at TechFrontiers. Really interesting stuff.
Absolutely. And let us know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think of this approach to AI safety? What else should we be considering?
It really is, isn't it? And there's no simple answer. But that's why frameworks like this are so important. They're a starting point, a way to get these conversations going.
Yeah, it really makes you think. I mean, usually when people talk about AI going rogue, it's like, becoming self-aware, deciding humans are the problem, like in the movies.
Right, exactly. And while that's, definitely dramatic, the real danger of misaligned AGI, it's probably going to be a lot more subtle, like an AI that goes for a goal but causes harm we didn't see coming, or one that gets so complex we just can't understand how it's making decisions anymore.
So not necessarily evil, more like unintended consequence.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what this N+1 framework tries to address. It's not about holding AI back. It's about making sure its evolution is, beneficial and safe for us.
Like those guardrails we were talking about. It can still be powerful, innovative, but it's always operating within those limits, prioritizing human values.
Precisely. And this idea of perpetual safe evolution, that's key. It's not a one-time fix. It's about creating a system that can always adapt, always get better, but never lose sight of that ethical core.
So a constant process of learning and refining for the AI and for us as we figure out how to live with this increasingly powerful technology.
Absolutely. And it requires a real shift in how we think about AI. Instead of being afraid of it, maybe we should be thinking about it as a partner, and solving some of the really big problems we face.
Okay, let's talk about that. How could a safely evolving AGI actually help us tackle these big, complex problems?
The possibilities are, they're huge. Imagine an AI that could help us figure out clean energy, or design personalized medicine, or even predict and stop natural disasters before they happen.
I mean, these are problems we've been wrestling with for decades. An AI with that kind of intelligence could change everything.
It could, but it has to be more than just intelligent. It has to be aligned with our values, deeply. It has to understand the ethics of its actions and put human well-being first.
It's not just about finding any solution. It's about finding the right solutions, the ones that are ethical, sustainable, and benefit everyone, not just a few.
Right. And that's why this framework is so exciting. It's like a roadmap, a way to develop AGI that's not just powerful, but inherently good.
Like a whole new era of collaboration. Humans and AI working together to solve problems that have seemed impossible up until now.
It really is a fascinating idea. And the N+1 framework gives us some concrete principles, mechanisms to start building towards that future.
It's exciting, but also, a little daunting. I mean, we're talking about shaping the very nature of intelligence.
It's a huge responsibility, yeah. No room for error, but it's also an incredible opportunity. If we approach it carefully, collaboratively, we could create a future where AI makes human life better, helps us reach our full potential as a species.
Okay, so we've talked about the good stuff, the potential, but there have to be challenges, right? I mean, actually making this framework work in the real world.
Of course. And maybe the biggest one is, how do we define those immutable core values we talked about? Who gets to decide what goes into that AI constitution?
That's a big one. I mean, the world has so many different cultures, beliefs, values. How do we even begin to agree on what should be fundamental ethical principles for a super intelligent AI?
That's the question, isn't it? I mean, do we go for global consensus, international agreements, organizations, or do we let each culture, each society define its own set of ethics for AI?
And what would that mean? Would a global consensus stifle innovation, make AI development too rigid? Or would a more localized approach mean things get fragmented, maybe even lead to dangerous differences in those ethical standards?
These are the questions we have to grapple with. And it's not just about finding the right answer. It's about creating a process, a way for everyone to keep talking, keep working together as our understanding of AI and its impact evolves.
It sounds like we need everyone at the table for this, not just AI experts and policymakers, but ethicists, philosophers, even the average person.
Exactly. We need all those perspectives to make sure these core values truly represent the best of humanity, and that they can guide AI in a way that benefits everyone.
And that's not the only challenge, is it? We were talking about scalable oversight mechanisms. How do we actually make sure we can keep tabs on an AI that's constantly changing, becoming more complex?
That's another big one. The more sophisticated these AI systems get, the harder it is for us, for humans, to understand how they're making decisions and to step in if we need to. We need to come up with new tools, new ways of monitoring AI, detecting any risks, making sure we keep some level of control, even as AI surpasses our own intelligence.
So it's not just about writing code, it's about creating a whole new system of governance, of accountability for something that could fundamentally change society as we know it.
You got it. And this is where collaboration is, it's essential. We need experts from every field: computer science, ethics, law, policy, you name it. We need a comprehensive approach, something that can keep up with how fast AI is evolving.
It sounds incredibly complex, incredibly challenging, but also incredibly exciting.
It is. It requires a real change in how we think about AI. We need to get past the fear, the hype, and start having these real conversations about what we want the future of intelligence to look like.
And this N+1 framework, even though it's not a complete solution, it gives us a framework, a starting point for those conversations.
Exactly. It highlights the things we need to think about, the principles, the mechanisms, as we navigate this uncharted territory.
Okay, so we've covered the benefits, the challenges, the need to work together. But I'm curious, what are your thoughts personally on this whole idea of AGI alignment? Do you think we can actually pull it off?
That's a great question, honestly. I think it's both possible and absolutely necessary. We can't just cross our fingers and hope for the best when it comes to AGI. We have to be proactive, deliberate, and I think frameworks like N+1 with this emphasis on ethics and safe evolution, they give us a solid foundation to work with.
It's definitely a more optimistic take than we usually hear when people talk about AI.
Pessimism, I don't think we have time for that. We need to be realistic about the risks, but also I think we need to believe that we can get this right, that we can create a future where AI is a force for good.
I like that. Not being naive, but also not giving in to fear.
Right. It's about recognizing the risks, but also the possibilities, and working together to make sure AI benefits everyone.
In this framework, with this idea of perpetual safe evolution, it feels like a way to balance those two things, pushing the limits of intelligence, but making sure that intelligence stays aligned with us, with our values.
It does, yeah. It says that the future of AI, it's not set in stone. We have a say in it. The choices we make, the conversations we have, now they determine the kind of world we're creating.
So for our listeners today, what should they be thinking about as they go about their day, knowing that this incredible technology is coming?
Stay informed, stay engaged, stay curious. Read about AI, talk about it, challenge your own assumptions about what it is, what it could be.
Don't just read the headlines or watch the movies. Be part of the conversation. The future of AI, it's not something happening to us, it's something we're creating together.
The more we know, the more we talk about it, the better choices we'll make, and the better that future will be for everyone.
This has been a really fascinating look into AGI alignment and this N+1 framework. But before we go, I want to leave our listeners with one last thought.
Oh, I'm listening.
We keep talking about these core values, the ones that need to be built into any super intelligent AI. But what should those values be? What are the things that we, as a species, as a planet, believe are essential for a good future, a safe future with AI?
That's a big question. We've touched on some of them: human rights, safety, cooperation. But there's so much more: creativity, compassion, curiosity, things that make us human.
What are the values that will not only prevent harm, but help AI contribute to, well, to human flourishing? What kind of world do we want to create with this technology?
That's a conversation for everyone: technologists, ethicists, artists, you, me, everyone.
So, tell us what you think. What should be part of that immutable core of a super intelligent AI? What values, what principles, what hopes should guide its development? Let us know in the comments. You might just help shape the future of this incredible technology.
We need all the ideas we can get on this one, that's for sure.
It really is amazing to think we're even having these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Super intelligent AI. It feels like we're right on the edge of something huge.
We really are. It's like a whole new frontier opening up. We've always been fascinated by intelligence, and now we're actually creating a new kind of it. It's exciting and a little scary all at the same time.
It really makes you question everything we thought we knew about intelligence, consciousness. I mean, we've always thought of ourselves as the smartest ones on the planet. What happens when that's not true anymore?
Yeah, it challenges us, doesn't it? What does it even mean to be human? I think that's where a lot of the fear comes from, the anxiety. We're facing the possibility that we might not be, at the top anymore.
Like AI is holding a mirror up to us.
Yeah.
Making us look at our own values, our flaws, everything.
Yeah, exactly. It's like AI saying, okay, you made me. Now let's see what you're really about.
And that can be a pretty uncomfortable thought for a lot of people, but it could also be a chance to grow, to really look at ourselves honestly.
Absolutely. I think AI has the potential to teach us so much about ourselves if we're willing to actually listen.
So it's not just about controlling AI or keeping it contained. It's about understanding it, working with it, maybe even evolving with it.
Yeah, that's it. Recognizing that AI isn't just a tool. It's not just some technology. It's a reflection of us. And it could be a partner in shaping the future.
And that future is coming at us fast. It wasn't that long ago we were worried about self-driving cars, and now it's super intelligence. It's kind of hard to keep up.
I know, it's moving so fast. Technology keeps accelerating. And we have to make sure our ethics, our understanding of what this all means for society, that it keeps pace too.
Otherwise, we get swept away by all this change without really understanding it, let alone controlling it.
Exactly. That's the real challenge. We need to be thinking ahead, not just reacting, thinking about the consequences of what we create and making sure that technology serves us, not the other way around.
This whole conversation about AGI alignment, the N+1 framework, it's been really eye-opening. It's a lot to think about and a lot to discuss with our listeners.
It is. It's complex. It's complicated. But that's what makes it so interesting and so important to talk about now before it's too late.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into AGI and safety, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all this?
Don't check out. Stay curious. Ask the hard questions. Challenge assumptions. Talk about the future of AI.
Yeah, don't just read the headlines or watch the movies. Be part of the conversation. The future of AI, it's not happening to us. We're all making it together.
And the more we understand, the more we talk, the better the choices we'll make, and the better that future will be for everyone.
Well said. And that's a wrap on this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of AGI alignment.
My pleasure. And remember, the future is in our hands. Let's make it a good one.